My name is Victor. I am the occult technician, and this is Mind War. Mind War is sponsored by Victory Work Apparel. Use promo code Mind War. Join the Mind War today. Enlist at patreon.com/mindwar. Now, back to the show. Welcome back to Mind War, folks. I appreciate you being here. We have a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Folks, we're going to pick up where we left off from the book Magic, History, Theory, Practice by Dr. Ernst Schertl. We are currently on the third and final section of this book, the Practice of Magic. We left off on page 93, and we're going to start with this. The given directives do not pursue the purpose of supporting such a kind of dilettantism or replacing the incomparable fertilization by a living master, but they are only designed to establish guidelines for how to develop an impact of magical forces has to happen, provided that the necessary above personnel preconditions are present. So basically, the author is saying here, if you have someone in your life who is already a magician and can guide you and you can kind of be their apprentice, that's still the best way to pass on this type of information. But that's not readily available to all of us anymore. We are living more separate, more individual lives, and it can be difficult to find someone who not only has the type of knowledge that we discuss here in the Mind War podcast, but then is also willing to share it with you outside, again, of some type of secret society or organization or something, right? And so we're going to just talk about some of those guidelines like we talked about in the last episode. I'm not here to give you a full rundown of what you're supposed to do when you practice magic. We've talked about so far some very basic, universal techniques that you need to do to get into the proper state of mind, the state of somnambulance, to then go ahead and practice magic. We've talked about some magical techniques, and we still have so many more to explore. But ultimately, the purpose of your magic, the theme of your magic, the style, all of those things are up to you. That's not what we push here. We're not pushing for you, we're not telling you what to believe here in the Mind War podcast. That's not it. Believe whatever you like. But if you want to practice magic, there are a few practical, universal techniques that need to be done in order to truly practice it. Again, you can fake it, but you'll never make it. Okay? It's not how magic works. So let's go on here. It says, such guidelines must never be followed systematically, but they must only serve as an animation to develop guidelines for oneself from them. That's what I did. And that's what I'm sharing with you. Again, if you become a member of a secret society, they are going to put you through the ringer because they've already established all of the steps. They say you got to do X, Y, and Z. You have to regurgitate all of these pre-written, rambling, esoteric fairy tales. You have to participate in rituals that truly have no meaning to you outside of the fact that you want to be part of this club, right? It's all so artificial. And we're going to get into that more towards the end of this episode when we talk about today's magical technique that's revealed in one of my Instagram posts, but that's for later on. Let's see. And again, these guidelines, these things that we've talked about, these kind of basic universal techniques, those are true to everyone. But again, they're just guidelines to develop your deeper, you add your own art to your magic. You add your own, like I said, theme, whatever style that you want to do. And most importantly, for whatever purpose. I could care less what you're doing magic for. Are you blessing people? Are you cursing people? Whatever it is, you're going to find, like I did, is that all of the things that you get into magic for in the beginning are usually egocentric. Your ego thinks that you should do something. You should get back at somebody, or you try to use magic in order to get rich and famous and whatever it is, right? Once you actually begin doing real magic, all of those egotistical things begin to fall away. And you begin to manifest in your life what you really needed. It's beautiful, man. It can be a little difficult at first. You have to accept that into your reality. You have to allow your ego to be melted away and understand that the gifts you're being given through your manifestation work are what the universe truly knows that you need. In case that certain exertions are applied, these must not be considered as occult experiments, which are performed to just see if there is anything to it. One should also not consider them as a school assignment which one has to finish, but they have to pour out of their sacral basic attitude, their tenor, that was already indicated. So again, the work that we do here isn't a task. It's not a list of chores that you have to do in order to finish your magical assignment. If that's what you're doing, your heart's not in it. Your mind's not in it. That's what the profane do when they join the secret societies, when they go to church, when they become an academic and complete their assignments so they can go to their very weird and occult ceremonies where they graduate from university or college, right? I'm telling you, man, I went to my Gemini twins university graduation, and it was the most occult thing I've ever seen. Everyone dressed in different types of robes, men with staffs, women with scepters, the big giant, mission statement on the screen when we first get in there, talking about how they are dedicating their work to Alma Mater, the Great Mother. And I ask my twins, I go, who in the fuck's the Great Mother? What are all these Harry Potter looking motherfuckers doing out here? What is all this? And they're like, I don't know, Dad. They didn't really tell us any of this. Okay. So just understand. I mean, that's a perfect example. Society and culture tells us you have to go to university. But when you get there, they say, oh, no, everything is secular here. It's all atheist and we hate religion and all this, right? But then you go to the graduation ceremony, and again, it's one of the most occult ceremonies I've ever seen. Now, those who run the universities, who are members of the secret societies that run the universities, know that it is not a secular organization. They know that universities are occult organizations because they hide what they do right in plain sight. It's the opposite of the mind war here. We're trying to expose all of these occult and hidden things. The basic attitude or tenor is not learned with these practices, But these only have a further pushing value if that attitude is preceding them. All of these practices that we learn are simply ways to motivate or further pushing the values and attitudes that are already in us. We're trying to strip away the societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets that hold us down, that stop us from having an open mind, that we're here to free our minds and be able to think for ourselves for the first time. And what happens is you find the attitude that is preceding your work. Because deep inside you, there is someone who wants to get out. That person inside of you who's always felt something was off. The person inside of you that knows that there's truth out there, but doesn't know how to find it because everyone in every path is lies. But when you strip these things away and you get down to the very basic core of yourself through these practices, you again find that that value attitude that is going to push you forward. It's going to give you purpose to do the things in your life that you want, maybe for the first time in your life. Goes on here to say, since the body is the point of origin of all magical effects, our whole attention at first has to be turned to it. This does not mean that we should lock ourselves into an armor of food, clothing, and bathing directions, and because of all the details, thereby forget the main point, but that we strive for retrieving what we have lost for a long time. Feeling for the bodily, and therefore primarily feeling for our own body. Again, the work that we do here is not a set of assignments that need to be completed. We do not lock ourselves into a specific set of instructions or directions for food, clothing, and bathing directions. Again, I've simply told you, really the basics, right? Prior to doing your magical ritual or ceremony, and again, this is just what I do. If you want to do something different, go for it. That's on you, right? But for me, I like to clean my house. I like to clean my physical body. I like to eat a light meal. That helps with the digestion of the psilocybin and the THC. And then go into, and clothing. I like to wear loose fitting clothing. I often find that the psilocybin kind of makes me feel hot. My temperature raises. So I like to wear loose fitting clothing. And again, when you are listening to the Gateway Experience tapes, you aren't going to want to be wearing a bunch of restrictive clothing that's going to make you too hot. If you're going to be too cold, we've already talked about all of those things in the Gateway Experience tapes series. But again, none of this is a specific set of instructions that you're going to so rigidly follow that you lose the purpose of why we're doing this. Or like the author says here, forget the main point of what we're doing. And what are we doing? We strive to retrieve what has been lost for a long time. Not only has it been lost for you as an individual, because that's what I came into. As an individual, I stifled all of the truths that I knew were inside of me because I thought that society, culture, and religion, I thought we had to follow them. None of them felt real. They all farted artificially to me, right? But again, why? Why do we strive for these retrieving these long lost purpose? It is for feeling for the bodily and therefore primarily feeling for our own body. Our body, the chemicals that flow through our body that are excreted by our glands and our organs are what create the emotions that we feel in our heart and our mind. We are reconnecting with those things that have been lost, not only as individuals, but have been lost from our society and our culture because of societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets that told us that this type of learning is bad and evil. Again, as the magician creating new culture, the magician and his Volk will always be seen as evil because we're going up against a predetermined set of ideals that the rest of the profane world has been locked into. We are trying to escape it. And because we're trying to escape that captivity, those who are left in captivity and are more comfortable in it, they're going to hate you for it. Our whole daily life today is resisting any deeper kind of body feeling and body exercise. Since we are only used to mechanical performances and because of our almost exclusively sitting lifestyle, have lost any kind of body feeling. This was written in the 1800s, folks. This wasn't written in 2020, 2023, 2025. It completely and perfectly describes our current situation, but it was written over 100 years ago, well over 100 years ago. Dr. Ernst Schertl, the author of this book, probably in a way saw the current state that the world is in today. He could visualize it through his imagination. He didn't have prophecy. He didn't have visions of the future sent to him by God or whatever, right? That's not what we're talking about. He simply looked around at the current state of being in his day and extrapolated what it would be in the future and wrote these prophetic type things, right? These prophetic type, teachings. Again, it's the same way that I've talked about with technology. So many friends and family and coworkers and stuff say, Victor, man, you're like a prophet when it comes to technology. You were all able to guess all this stuff 20 years ago. And I go, I'm not a prophet. I didn't get a vision from the future, downloaded from, none of that. I simply looked at the current technology that was available 20 years ago. And I go, oh, this is what it's going to be in the future. It's going to be smaller and faster. And it's, all of that stuff. It's easy to visualize if you have an imagination. The common sport and the gymnastics that come along with it provide no equivalent, since the achieved effect is not penetrating into the deep layers of the inner bodily structure. Recommendable for our purposes is, however, a certain kind of gymnastics, which we call sensual and articular, and of which we will talk at length later on. Interesting. Okay. One of the things that really shocked me about this section on magical practice was the importance of bodily movement. I really didn't have any idea that was going to play such a big role in magic. I haven't talked about that a lot. It is a magical technique that we'll discuss, as he says, later on in future episodes. But there are some physical, things that you can do to help with your magic. Normally, and again, we'll get into this more later, but the time between taking your doses of THC and psilocybin and the 45 minutes to an hour that it takes for them to get into, really start flowing through your veins and the effects starting to start, and you start feeling the effects of these toxins, right? That's normally when I'm doing some of these physical things that the author is talking about, okay? And again, part of the physical stuff, when you are, I believe, if you are trying to become a member of, I think, Freemasons and probably many of these other secret societies, you can't be disabled. You can't, as far as I know, you can't be missing limbs. You can't even be missing a finger. You have to be a fully functional human being without any type of disability. It's that's kind of a strange thing in a way, right? Maybe people think of, I don't want to say racist, but it's, not treating everyone equal in its own way. But I think there's a purpose for that, because we do need to have our physical bodies intact in order to do some of these techniques. So interesting. All just interesting, deeper layers to practicing real magic. Getting away from the profane kind of going through the motions, right? Continues on here. It says, an important point is, of course, the question of nourishment. It does not rank that high, however, as some occultists of today would like to rank it. Okay, so some occultists, food, nourishment is very crucial. The body is not a sack which randomly takes in what you put into it, but it exerts a careful selection and conversion on the given substances, so that it depends first and foremost on the body itself, what it wants to keep and what it wants to reject. Pretty simple here. You have an appetite for specific types of foods. For me, I'm a huge fan of the fried sandwich. Okay, we got a local bread company here. Shout out to Spots Bread. They still make bread that literally has, I think, 4 ingredients. If you leave it on the counter instead of putting it in the fridge, it will mold in about 2 to 3 days. It is the most delicious sourdough bread I've ever had. You take that, you put some natural butter on 2 pieces of bread, you slap a piece of ham and a piece of cheese in between. You fry it on medium in a copper frying pan. Fuck, dude. It is so good. It's so basic. It's so simple. I pair that with some type of pickled vegetable, mostly pickles, right? Loving the pickles. I found another jar at the local store. It's basically pickled cauliflower, carrots, onions, all that stuff all mixed together. My body craves the pickling. It craves the vinegar, all of that stuff. I know that it's good for me because my body craves it. I feel good after I eat it. It's not like eating some disgusting fast food where as you're eating it, you're like, this just tastes slimy and greasy and gross. And then when you're done, you feel bogged down, you're exhausted. That's what we're talking about here. Take the time as you're going through this huge change in your life. Why not use this as a time to eat healthier? It's not a bad idea, because again, the magician, it's all parts of your life. Magic, as we've learned from this book, is a fundamental part of your daily life. It's not just the ritual. It's not just the ceremony. It's everything in your daily life. That's the beauty of it. It gives you this purpose, right? It gives you this sense of wholeness. Again, most people try to fill it with religion, where I got to pray to Jesus, every day. If you're Muslim, you got to do the prayer thing 5 times a day. Again, you're literally just following the rules. You're going through the motions. If you're forced to get down on your knees and pray 5 times a day, do you really think that those men that do that their hearts and minds are truly in it? Or are many of them, the majority of them, doing it because they have to? because they know that their culture and their society is ruled by their religion. And if they don't, they're going to face extreme punishment for not getting on their hands and knees and going through the motions 5 times a day. That simple act of mass obedience is frowned upon by any God, any spirit, so deeply that it creates this just artificial mass of people. Again, the NPCs. Sad to see it. But I'm telling you, folks, you look at the Middle East right now, you look at all their cities, you look at all their countries that we spent trillions of dollars building since 9/11, the most advanced cities on the planet, the highest technology, the cleanest, the coolest buildings, the most money. Everybody in these Middle Eastern countries are giving a shit ton of money every month because they're making all this money off of oil and everything. That's tough, man. They don't have freedom, but they also have national pride. They have religious pride. Maybe there's something to it. It's tough though, man. It's tough to decide. What are you going to do? Are you going to continue to live in the Western world full of profane morons who just are a death cult? That's the best way to describe the West. But you have freedom. You can do whatever the fuck you want. You don't have to pray 5 times a day and be worried that you're going to, get your hand chopped off for whatever fucking reason or get, worse. It's a tough call, man. It's tough. It doesn't have to be that way. I would love to see a society here in the West where we can have the beautiful cities, the best technology in the world, peace, safety, tranquility, healthy foods, all of those things without the religion. Oh, well, Victor, that's going to be liberal, left-wing, secular. I don't want the left's religion either. That world that I'm talking about, this sort of utopia that we see being built in the Middle East in many ways, it's not going to be filled with fucking men dressing like women, addicted to drugs, all the people nodding off on the side of the street because of the fentanyl and all that bullshit. None of that exists there. And I would love to be able to see here in the West, again, that kind of utopian technological future without the religious extremism on top of it, forcing everyone into compliance. The body is not a sack. Let's see. And that there exist nonetheless substances which are taken in by the body submissively and which can then act as poisons inside of it is well known. And until now, no one succeeded in establishing a reliable definition for the term poison. Again, this was a long time ago. Maybe we have that definition now. Technically speaking, every substance which you put into the body is acting as a quote-unquote poison, that is to say, as a foreign body. On the other hand, the fasting also has effects which are related to the symptoms of poisoning. Therefore, it has to be classified as an axiom for the whole question of nourishment, which we will only put to those substances, we only put those substances into the body whose effect of poisoning is in our intention, and that we should keep all those substances away from it which create other kinds of poisoning effects in it. So one thing that we should talk about there real quick that I am guilty of not doing is fasting. I think fasting is very important. I've done a decent amount of research on it. I think I need to put it into play now more than ever. I think it would have a major effect on my health for the positive. It's just tough. It's not easy. I like to eat. I often fall victim to my own comfortability. As soon as I start getting hungry and a little dizzy and tired, I just want to eat. Oh, go get some coffee, have a cookie, eat dinner, whatever it is, right? But I think fasting would play a good role in whatever your routine that you're building. Again, if you eat unhealthy foods as you move into your magical practices, you're going to change that up. You're going to start finding alternatives for your unhealthy eating habits. You cannot quit anything cold turkey. You have to find alternatives. If you are an alcoholic and you want to quit drinking, go to the closest marijuana dispensary, buy as much weed as you can, as much edibles as you can, and when you get home, the very first thing you want to do is take too many edibles and then smoke a bunch of weed. You're going to get so high and your anxiety will raise so high that you won't even want to drink. It's going to melt your ego away and you're going to, I can't drink another drink. If you take a bunch of edibles and you get into that high anxiety state of mind and then you go and open up a can of beer, right? If beer was your thing, right? And then you try to drink it, it's going to taste different to you. And one of the best things, if you really want to hate alcohol, do what I just said, but take your favorite alcoholic drink, specifically if it's beer, this works best, and let that beer get warm. Spill some of the beer out and let it dry. You know how much dry beer stinks, especially like a Coors Light or a Bud Light or what, any of those skunky ass beers. You let that shit dry out somewhere on a plate or something like that. You eat a bunch of edibles and get into that kind of high anxiety state where you're like, every worry and every shame and guilt that you've ever felt in life is, just comes pouring back on you, right? Man, you go smell that rotten ass beer, your body is going to reject the idea of opening up a beer in the future. These are the type of things that you can do. And these are the type of techniques that you're going to find in your own way. But again, fasting I think is very important. And then like the author says here, everything that we put into our body is a form of poison. We just have to choose the correct ones. Now, again, with the psilocybin, aka the magic mushrooms, like I've said from the beginning, grow them yourself, dry them for an extended period of time, grind them up in the coffee grinder until it is a very fine powder, and then take your low dose in the form of the powder directly onto your tongue. It's nasty. You're going to realize that the magic mushrooms are a toxin. They are a poison. You are poisoning yourself. But you're doing it in a controlled way. And when you taste how nasty they are, it gives reverence to them. You quickly realize this isn't a game. This isn't a toy to be played with. This isn't just for recreation. Sure, take your mushrooms on the 4th of July and at your parties or whatever. Have fun with them. Go for it. Again, if I would have had access to magic mushrooms for the last few decades of my life, I would have been taking them every day and just having fun with them. But when we use them in a more sacred, ceremonial way, you need to understand the truth of what you're dealing with. And it is a very powerful poison or toxin that we voluntarily ingest. In addition, there is the possibility by abstaining from certain substances to possibly bring about certain intended phenomena of self-poisoning, as is the case during complete fasting and during increased vegetarianism. So again, fasting, I think, can have a lot of effects on your body that may help heighten your magical experience, right? Helps you get into that state of somnambulance. It pushes your body out of its current comfort zone. And that's really what you're looking for in that state of somnambulance. You're pushing your body out of its current comfort zone. Let's see what it says here. It says, this is just a one-sentence paragraph. The whole problem of alcohol and nicotine will consequently resolve itself. Yeah, I've told you from the very beginning, you have a bad habit right now, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, that's all it takes. If you are addicted to ice cream every night before you go to bed, find a healthy alternative. Eat the healthy alternative for 2 weeks when you normally would be eating that chemical concoction known as ice cream today. And after 2 short weeks, your cravings for the ice cream gone, and you will now crave whatever the replacement is. It's that simple. What is put into the body has to be consistent with the intended effect. Vegetarian food is notoriously decreasing the intensity of the animal powers, so that the vegetarian is then easier to control. Whoa, dude. 1800s. Okay? This isn't 1980s, 1990s when vegetarianism became this thing, this fad that we were being pushed. They were pushing us. The organizations, corporations, and institutions that want to control us were pushing vegetarianism. Most of the vegetables in today's supermarkets didn't even exist when this book was written. The same way that there are, countless dog breeds today that didn't exist 100 years ago, same thing with our vegetables. As far as I know, cauliflower and broccoli are genetically modified organisms that were created through the selective breeding of Brussels sprouts. The Brussels sprouts were more of the natural plant that was originally grown. But through science and selective breeding, we somehow created cauliflower, broccoli, and now the broccoflower. Why are vegetables nasty? Why do we not want to eat them? Why is it that every single plant in nature, when you take a bite out of it, has an astringent taste in your mouth? It tastes like poison. It dries your mouth out. You don't want to continue eating it because human beings are not supposed to be vegetarians. You can consume herbs, spices. Those were given to us as gifts from God, Gaia, Mother Earth. But not all this other shit, man. Iceberg lettuce, I never eat it because it never digests in my stomach. And again, the author says here, vegetarians lose their intensity of their animal powers. Think of the human body. It's made out of muscle and fat. The muscles that we see that control our skeletal system, and the fat we need to build our brains. What should we eat in order to fuel this physical body made out of muscle and fat? How about a steak with some fat on it? Literally, you are what you eat. Don't be a fucking broccoflower. And the very next sentence. Man is becoming tamer. Dude, we are so fucking domesticated right now. In the future that we're moving into, we will just be even more domesticated. We are losing our wildness. Meat, in contrast, increases animalism and demands, therefore, increased efforts for its direction. It makes the man wilder. Oh yeah, sure fucking does. The one who only wants intellectual, bodiless insight will favor the use of vegetarian food, especially since he is then able to leave aside a whole lot of manipulations and milieu instructions. Again, the weak-minded, woke, liberal, academic faggot who only wants intellectualism will be in favor of a vegetarian diet because he's tame and he's weak and he's lost his animalism. But for the rest of us, we demand that animalism to make us wilder. And that, again, it sets aside those milieu instructions. Eating meat, eat meat. Instruction 1, become a vegetarian. A whole fucking list of rules and just bullshit that you got to follow. Try being a vegan. It's even worse. So many vegans I know, they just end up like eating French fries and Oreos and all kinds of shit that's just fake artificial food because trying to be a full vegan is almost impossible. But he will then have to do without the real incarnation of the demonic. That vegetarian, weak, non-animalism man, he will not be able to incarnate the demonic forces because the appearing sensations will always get stuck in the mental. Oh, I got a problem. I got a mental problem. Oh, my mental disabilities. It's a mental thing. It's just mental. Oh, it's mental. The emotions come from your animal side. The emotions come from your heart that is made of meat. The vegetarianism is advertised so much today. Again, was this book written in the 1800s or 2015? What the fuck, man? This Dr. Ernst Schertl, thank you. Thank you so much for writing this. The vegetarianism is advertised so much today is due to the increasing rationality and abstractness of the European man. Wow, dude. What a condemnation. You increasingly rational and abstract losers. You are the ones that sicken us. We have empathy for the lower man. You know the types that we're talking about. We have empathy for those who do not have the intellectual and physiological ability to have deep thoughts, to even have a conscience. We have empathy for them. They live in their animal instincts. It doesn't mean that we're not going to tame them. It doesn't mean that we're not going to destroy them if they try to destroy us. But we have empathy for them. The ones we don't have empathy for are the weak-willed and the weak-minded European American white men who choose through their intellectualism to be weak. We have no empathy for you. And in fact, you are our biggest enemy. Because you are the ones who are out there stirring up all the fucking trouble. You are empowering the profane in order to attack the few of us that are desperately out here trying to restore, to rebuild, to reinvigorate a new culture. Since he generally only wants bodiless insight, vegetarianism is the more convenient for him. But for reaching the higher levels of demonism, this kind of nourishment is definitely not recommended. In fact, all of the gaseous burps that I'm letting out during this episode, I apologize. It's because I just took a break before recording, between recording the last episode and this episode. I went upstairs, like I told you at the end of the last episode, to spend some time with the Moon Princess. She and her squeaky little voice were so sweet and so cute. And Callie, she made a delicious Mississippi pot roast, a giant slab of meat covered in fat, covered in butter, and pepperoncinis. It was a little spicy. It was delicious. This magician here is a meat eater. You're goddamn right. He who wants to enter the actual area of demonism, and therefore of magic, has to be in full possession of all, thus also his animal powers, and will therefore stick to the appropriate meat food. If you are a magician, if you plan on practicing what we are talking about here in the Mind War, you have to eat healthy cuts of meat. The consumption of meat played a virtually cultic role in the primeval religions. Every other kind of food, on the other hand, was regarded as something almost worthy of contempt. All other foods besides meat in the primeval days were looked at with contempt. Your grains. Contempt for them the same way we do today. Don't you see? We're reaching back to those primeval days. The instincts inside of man are returning. The Judeo-Christian Islamic mind control is starting to fade away. The psyops of the profane are losing their power. We are returning to those natural animal instincts. The primitive man still had a sense for the fact that in the meat of the animals, and last but not least of the human itself, a compression of certain world powers is given, which for him reached into mysticism. The content of pneumonic energy, the content of pneumatic energy, that is to say, of latent memory substance, and therefore of psychogenic force in general, is without a doubt greater with regards to the animal body than the vegetable. You are what you eat. You want to be a man of passion and strength. You eat animals that exert passion and strength. He who eats an animal is thereby also assimilating the whole ancestral line of the animal, and this one has a greater energetic meaning than the ancestral line of the usual plants which are used for nutritional purposes. We talk about the importance of ancestry here in the Mind War podcast. I've told you over and over and over again that I am sick and tired of seeing all of these white men come out here and they know every single ancestor in the Jewish lineage. They learn it through the Bible. and they study it, and this guy came after this guy, and then this guy came after this guy, and they know all of it from today all the way to the beginning of the Judeo fairy tale. But they don't even know the name of their great-grandfather. They know nothing about their own ancestors. It's sickening and pathetic. You are a cuck to religion, if that is true to you, what I just said. That you don't know anything about your own ancestors, but you know every fucking, Jewish person and their lineage because you read about it in the Bible and you studied it over and over and over again and you memorized it and it's so important in the Davidic line. Fuck you. Nobody cares anymore. Learn about your own ancestors. As we go into future episodes, you're going to understand the importance of your own ancestry. That the consumption of meat principally necessitates much more extensive means and adjustments for the bringing about of magical sensations and actions is connected with the much greater expenses of energy, which come into question with regards to the consumption of meat. Mere thoughts are easy to direct, but as soon as perceptions become real things, whole new problems arise. And that's very true, right? When you do eat a meat-rich environment, your body is going to be cooking a little bit hotter. You're going to be running a little bit hotter than the weak, skinny, gray-skinned vegetarian, right? So you have to understand that that's part of it. You're going to be burning the midnight oil, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's where we're going to leave it off, folks. Man, I feel like I could keep going, but it looks like we are deep into this episode. We've been going for a while. So we're going to finish it there. And when we get back, we're going to continue on my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician in just a moment. All right, welcome back, folks. We are going to pick up where we left off on my magical journey over on Instagram at The Occult Technician. You're going to scroll all the way down to a post from August 20th, 2023 titled Mind War Apron. So, this video is a walkthrough of how I made my apron for Uncle Vic. The Uncle Vic character in his uniform has what looks to be a Masonic apron. Okay. I'm going to come out right away and say, I don't know what the full, symbolism of the apron is. Okay. The basic understanding that I have is it's kind of like a representation of the fact that you are building something new. In Freemasonry, it's building the new man, building a better man, right? That's why they use this symbology of creating these stone structures, right? Men of such character that they cannot be taken down. All of that's good stuff. I'm not denigrating any of that. What I have a problem with is the apron. The apron is a perfect analogy for what's wrong with these secret societies. And here's this. This video here we're watching where I'm making my own Masonic apron, if you will. Now again, it's black, it's made out of leather, it has metal spikes on it, right? It's very evil looking in comparison to the very generic, mass-produced white baby blue Masonic aprons. That's just gay as fuck, bro. Okay? And the problem that I have with Masons who simply purchase a mass-produced apron from some third world shithole is this. It's artificial. Again, it's just you going through the motions. The importance in this art project creating my apron from scratch is that I fucking earned my apron. I didn't buy it from some fucking catalog where, again, some third world Asian dude sewed it and made it for you. That's bullshit, dude. If that's what you're doing, you're wrong, man. You're just going through the motions. You are a profane NPC. I take pride in my apron. Again, to me, it truly does represent building something new, building something real. DIY, doing it yourself. Not just falling in line, regurgitating other people's nonsensical fucking humana. I've seen the things. Because again, I told you, I've tried to believe. You know how many times I almost joined a secret society? Almost reached out to the Masons over and over and over again, thinking maybe that's what it is. Christianity's bullshit. I know I don't want anything to do with that. I've tried all of these other things. They're all empty. And I kept thinking maybe the secret societies, maybe that's what I need. But the more I researched, the more artificial nonsense that I found. And it not only was what I was seeing with my own eyes, this sort of fake, artificial, color by numbers faggotry. But what I heard, the stories of other men like myself who desperately were looking for some truth, some type of experience, they were all coming out of these secret societies going, that's just gay, fake shit. And I don't mean homosexual, even though there probably is some behind closed doors with a bunch of guys. That shit sounds gay as fuck, okay? But again, what they were finding is empty calories. They weren't finding experience. They were finding bureaucracy of artificial nonsense. It's not what I wanted. It's not what you want. You're not here at this phase of the Mind War podcast if you want artificial paint by numbers philosophies. That's not what it is, man. And again, I know the things that I say sound extreme and they go against the grain and all of that. But as one of the few out there who are pushing back against these things, I have to speak this way. I can't just be some milquetoast loser who's beating around the fucking bush. I can't. I have to come and give it to you straight. And that's what this apron represents, man. Going away from the artificial, pre-made, predefined magical journey. What are you gonna get out of that? You're gonna follow somebody else's journey? You're gonna fight someone else's mind war battle? Nope. That's not how we do it here. Make your own fucking apron. Maybe you don't even make an apron. Maybe you do something else. Some other symbolic item that has meaning to you. That's what this is about here in the Mind War. Breaking free from the artificial. So our next post from August 26, 2023 is titled A Healing Force. Again, up until this final phase of the book Magic History Theory Practice, we are now in the practice section. Up until this point, we've only talked really, truly about white healing magic. And what you see here in this post is Uncle Vic standing in the middle and his 6 disciples, 6 on one side, 6 on the other, for a total of 12. The disciples are there with him, this time in uniform. This time preparing to fight the mind war. This is a much more militaristic version of the disciples. Each one of these versions of me in this photo are fighting their own mind war battles, their own front lines, like we talked about in the last episode. As individuals, it's more important for us to fight our own battles, create new battlefronts in the mind war, wherever we can. Because then this movement, this thought process, this new culture can expand. I don't need you guys here fighting my battles for me. That's what everyone else does. That's what every other organization, corporation, and institution does. They bring you into the ranks to fight their battle for them. It's not what we do here. It's an individual journey in so many ways. And here in this photo, I created that army of mind warriors, citizen samurais, guerrilla gurus, and warrior monks that I needed to win my own mind war battles. Now the next post from August 26, 2023, go find this one on Instagram, is titled Enlist Today. This again was one of my first sort of advertisements for the Mind War podcast. We'd been at it for a little while at this time, and I really wanted to reach out to all of you and talk about what we're doing here in the Mind War, the importance of it, the idea again of thinking differently. I know it's a fucking slogan or whatever from Apple or whatever, but that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to break free from the current forced upon us organizations, corporations, and institutions. We're trying to break free from the societal, cultural, and religious wet blankets. And again, this is Uncle Vic on stage, speaking to all of you, introducing himself in a way, and again, sort of advertising the Mind War and welcoming all of the Mind Warriors to the battle. My next post from August 30th, 2023. This is a great Instagram account, at amazing_bearded_wonder. At amazing_bearded_wonder. Very nice guy. Does some really cool posts. I saw that he had, again, a very large following. I asked him in a DM, I said, hey bro, can I send you a hat? Because I saw that every video he was wearing different hats. He gladly accepted it. He wore it during one of the videos, and I just posted a little bit from the video, kind of giving him a shout out there. Again, part of my guerrilla marketing. He probably had tens of thousands of people view that video where they saw the symbol, the sigil on the hat that I had sent him. So again, thank you to the Amazing Bearded Wonder. August 31st, 2023, we have a blue moon, full moon tarot card pull. This was, again, a very typical ritualistic night. We have some of my art there. We have the black mirror. I like to lay the black mirror down flat on the altar, on my art. It creates sort of a portal. Again, when you are on the psilocybin, when you're on the mushrooms, when you're in the state of somnambulance, and you see that black mirror as this kind of hole in front of you, you can feel the expanse of the abyss that's on the other side of that mirror. You feel the infinity, like you can reach your hand into the black mirror and feel around in the abyss. It's fucking amazing. It's very different than having it just in front of you like that, right? So, again, just another typical night here. Again, showing reverence to Lucifer during this card pull. The final few pictures there, again, basically showing the setup of my altar prior to doing the work. I like to show everyone, here's what I prepared before I began doing the magic. And then the final picture there was just, again, an example of one of my hats that you can buy over on Victory Work Apparel on Etsy, which is exactly what the next post is, September 1st, 2023. I just do a fun kind of scroll through of all the items that I had on the website at that time. At this point, it was 25% off of hoodies, sweatshirts, and beanies to prepare for the warm weather. That was a 25% off Keep Warm sale from September 1st, 2023. We're going to move right into our next post from September 4th, 2023. This was long after the whole COVID debacle, but I just felt kind of motivated to readdress the COVID nonsense. This idea of wearing your mask and staying at home and making sure that you get your shot and all this stuff. And it was still fresh enough in everyone's mind that I just kind of wanted to remind them. I did it in my own artistic way. Everything's kind of black and white here. Again, I used that slowed down version of one of the 12 Tribes songs. It's very eerie, very creepy. And what I like about this, just a quick note. So I recorded this in black and white, and what's interesting is the symbol on the podium here stands out very bright, and I was able to do that with lighting. This is not a digital effect. I mean, the brightness of the art piece in front of the podium here, just, it looks artificial, it looks digital, but it truly was just out of lighting. And these are all techniques that not only did I use when I was preparing the Mind War Studios the way it is today, but also I hope to use in future art projects. And now, for today's final post that we're going to be reviewing, this is an important one for me because it plays into some of the posts we've talked about before. And so this is from September 7th, 2023. The very first picture that you see is Lucifer. He's in my white triangle with the black circle there. And below it is the injectable medication that I have to take every 2 weeks in order to treat the symptoms of my digestive disorder. So, this is a continuation of 2 art projects. It's an explanation of why I do what I do. So, as you know, every night on the new moon, every month on the new moon, when I pull a new card from the Goetia Tarot deck, I use a small needle, which is called a lancet, I believe, right? A small medical grade needle that normally you would use in order to poke your finger to draw 1 drop of blood to test your blood sugar, I think, or whatever test you're doing, right? I use those little needles to poke the middle finger on my left hand to draw 1 drop of blood. And I take that drop of blood and I put it on the corresponding sigil, on the little sigil worksheet that I have, in order to kind of show reverence for the demon that I had worked with throughout the prior month. It was kind of my offering to them as a thanks for them for sharing information with me. And we're going to talk about the type of information these demons will share with you in the future. That's one part of the art project. The other part was the tattoo that I did on my left hand here. And we talked about that already. Remember, I did a stick and poke tattoo on the palm of my left hand. Very painful. I did it because I realized that all of the tattoos that cover my body that I got in a very short period of time when I first joined the Marine Corps was my version of self-harm. The tattoos were my version of cutting. I just paid someone else to do the damage to me. That was a very difficult thing to realize, that I was doing this self-harm, right? So in order to take back the power that I gave to these tattoo artists, I did my own tattoo. Again, stick and poke with good tattooing needles. I got all the best stuff off of Amazon. I didn't just grab a sewing needle and an ink pen from the drawer. No, I went and purchased all the stuff. I used rubbing alcohol. I'd gotten enough tattoos in my life that I knew what procedures needed to be done to do this in a healthy way, I guess, right? But again, I did it in order to take my power back. That's what this was. This was taking my power back from the tattoo artist that I gave my power to in order to harm me as a way to deal with the sadness and depression that I was feeling when I first joined the Marine Corps. That loneliness, right? Again, when I draw the single drop of blood on my left, the middle finger of my left hand, and put that drop of blood on the Demon's Sigil worksheet each month, there's a reason that I do that. And the reason is because of this fucking medicine. This medicine is required for me to take every 2 weeks. If I don't take it, literally in the hours leading up to me needing to take my medicine, because it's so scheduled and regimented, in the hours leading up to it, the symptoms of my digestive disorder return. I have a reminder every 2 weeks that I am sick. I feel it in my body. I feel the symptoms coming back. And those symptoms remind me of the severity of this disease. Because prior to getting this medicine, I was down to about 150 pounds. I hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. Because what happened is my mind made the connection that when I eat food, I'm going to be in pain the next day. And so eventually I just quit eating. I thought I was goner, man. This was just a few years ago before I started this project. It was literally, I believe, the summer of 2021. Thought I was a goner. Because I am required to do this, I lost anonymity. I lost the ability to have control over myself, my physical body. And that was a sad realization that I'm no longer in control. So what can I do? What can I do to regain that control? And just like with the tattoo on my hand here, I regained control over having to stick a needle into my body twice a month. I have to do it in order to stay alive, basically. In order to take back that control, I voluntarily now prick my finger every month and draw that drop of blood. That's what it means to me. Regaining control over my physical body, over my physical health. It is metaphorical. It is esoteric. It is an occult symbolic gesture. But it helped me. And here's how I explained it. Life-saving science plus soul-saving spirituality. The combination of administering my medication alongside my crafting has added a level of spiritualism that has given a supernatural element to my healthcare. This takes my healthcare routine from a somewhat harsh, sterile, institutional reminder of pain and sickness to a more welcoming and personal solemnity that promotes healing and growth. Profound words if I've ever said them myself. Let's go back over it. Life-saving science. That's the medication that I am forced to take. Soul-saving spirituality. That is me voluntarily pricking my finger every month in my spiritual practice. Life-saving science, soul-saving spirituality. The combination of administering my medication, so doing my healthcare routine, alongside of my crafting, alongside of my magic, has added a level of spiritualism that has given a supernatural element to my healthcare. You can add spirituality to your healthcare. We often hear that those who find themselves recovering from some type of detrimental health issue, the majority of those who heal the best add spirituality. And here's why. This takes my healthcare routine from a somewhat harsh, sterile, institutional reminder of pain and sickness. If all that I did was every 2 weeks just jam that fucking needle into my leg or into my belly and squirt that fucking medicine in through the injector, all it would be is a harsh, because it's painful, sterile, because I have to sterilize the area where I'm going to do it, and institutional, because it comes from an institutional healthcare system. And those, all it would be is a reminder of my pain and sickness. Just every 2 weeks, I would just be reminding myself how sick I am. And that I am required. It's a requirement for me in order to stay, I guess, healthy. And that's fucking sad, man. Do you know how hard it is to depend on really Uncle Sam, the government, the VA? I love them. They're doing wonders for me, and I appreciate them. But it's still a fucking deal with the devil, man. I don't want to have to be doing this. The medication that I take, the VA told me is $6,000 a month, right? People are getting rich off of my sickness. Every 2 years, I'm supposed to get a colonoscopy. Ugh, fuck, man. I'm supposed to be getting one now. I've been avoiding it. People are getting rich off of that. In fact, during my last colonoscopy, that was done by a new doctor, the hard part is that this was the most gentle and pain-free colonoscopy I've ever had. So technically it was the best one I've ever had of about the 6 that I've done in my lifetime. It was done by a Jewish doctor, an older gentleman, literally a multicolored yarmulke on his head. Now, I know I talk a lot about the Judeo-Christian Islamic paradigm, and you probably think I'm anti-Semitic and all this, that, the other. I'm just giving it to you straight. I'm just simply telling you the story that happened in my life during my last colonoscopy. Again, a Jewish doctor, multicolored yarmulke on his head. He asked me, how often do you get colonoscopies? And I said, well, my doctor says it should be at least every 3 years, and I've tried to convince him every 5 is better. And this new doctor, he said to me, I don't understand why the VA doesn't do it like they do in England, where the colonoscopies are scheduled every 2 years. And I quote, the VA is leaving money on the table. You know what that means, and I know what that means. My procedure, the physical procedure of getting a colonoscopy, is a financial reward for the Veterans Administration. I brought this up with my doctor the last time. Not the guy who gave me the colonoscopy, but the doctor that I talk to every 6 months who orders the colonoscopy for me. I told him what the doctor said. I told him how I don't feel comfortable being used like this. Oh, Victor, no. We don't make any money off of this. This isn't how it works. Bullshit, doc. The VA isn't doing these type of procedures for free. The way that the VA gets their money to pay for the doctors and the infrastructure in order to do these procedures is by borrowing money from the Federal Reserve by laws that are written by Congress. Congress writes a law to borrow the money from the Federal Reserve in order to pay for these procedures. And they need them done every 2 years, because my guess is a colonoscopy is about 15 grand, maybe up to 30 grand. Who knows, right? All the people that are there, all the equipment, all the sterilization, going under anesthesia, all of this stuff. They're making a ton of fucking money. And guess what, man? I'm taking it up the ass so somebody else can make money. Technically, I'm a whore and they're my fucking pimp. That's layman's terms. It's weird and uncomfortable to talk about. But it's exactly what I'm talking about with this institutional reminder of your healthcare, the pain and sickness that you go through. It's institutionalized. It's financialized. This has to stop. This is the healthcare system that is going to be destroyed in our new culture. We are going to have the healthiest human beings that have ever existed on our planet when we move into the new golden era. We are no longer going to be poisoned by the corporations and healed by the institutions. And no longer are the corporations going to be getting rich because of it. But now, we continue. The reason, again, that I do these type of rituals with pricking my finger, again, it takes the power back. It takes away from this healthcare routine being reminding me of how harsh, sterile, and institutional it is, that it's just this reminder of pain and sickness. And it transforms it into a more welcoming and personal solemnity that promotes healing and growth. Solemnity, I had to look up this word. It's this combination of things in your life. It's bringing together two separate things into a sort of spiritual purpose. It's a communion with your healthcare. And again, it's adding some of that spirituality to your healthcare routine. So there you have it, folks. I don't know what else to tell you. That's some very personal shit for you. Again, that was the last post we're going to do today from September 7th, 2023. Another exciting episode here at the Mind War podcast. I appreciate you being here. And as always, remember, folks, harden your hearts and open your minds, because this is Mind War.